this is information, like you said, is critical for the industry as a whole. I was in California last year at Intersolar, and people in the solar industry are still arguing about how do we make solar a vetted asset class. Solar, not community solar, right? This is an option of solar. So we definitely have a long way to go with that, but I think, like we point out, software solutions like ours that amass this data are a great way to get there.
The only thing I would just add is it is certainly early days in terms of what we've been able to see from the data so far, and so I don't know that I have any additional insights to offer there, but we're also hoping to use that data for specifically proving out some of these ideas about low to moderate income participation, and to build the case for also perhaps something besides a FICO score to say no utility repayment rates, for example, people are paying their bills, and that we have the data here to back up that as a group that can readily participate in community solar and therefore meets the financing requirements associated with it.
I agree with everything that's been said. I think time will tell. It's really a new industry. Community solar has only been around for a couple of years. So I think that as we collect data from companies like ours and with help from the utilities, we'll gain a lot more information.
I think it's certainly exciting. I have yet to hear a good argument about why solar subscribers would default at a higher rate than just utility payments.
Right. Especially if it's saving them money, right? There's less chance that they're going to default. And that's right. You're paying a little less. That's right.
How do you show the customer what they're saving? Do you actually get the information from the utility to compare apples to apples? You do.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's very, my answer can be very nuanced because it's very difficult, and it changes for every distribution company. We do our best to do that, and in Massachusetts, it works out a lot. Massachusetts, when they release rates, give you enough time to update the database so we can actually accurately display savings values to the end-use customer. Places like New York, Con Ed in particular, basic service supply rates change on a daily basis. That's hard to model in a savings algorithm, right? And each individual within one rate class can actually be on, so each individual on the same rate class, let's say it's SC1, will be billed a different value depending on which individual billing cycle that they're on. So to get that through your head. So if you're a residential customer and you sign up for this program, the same exact asset, and your neighbor signs up too, your savings could be different because you're on a different billing cycle. So these are very complex issues, and software helps a lot, but by no means is it a perfect solution.
And just wait, because all the compensation might change through the LMP plus T proceedings.
Exactly.
Time of use rates.
Can any of your guys' software sync into the billing cycles that the utilities currently have with the customers? And how many different billing cycles do most utility customers have? Is there some similarities between the majority of people and utility customers?
I'll just say most of what we've seen is multiple billing cycles for
Calendar month?
Sorry?
Calendar months?
Yes,
yeah.
Calendar months. Although the start date and when they actually get the bill may vary, but it tends to be 30-some days close to a month. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I think as I think Nick described well, this is one of the most complicated aspects. So a single utility could have like 80 different billing cycles, and so then you have to match up. We read the production meter of the site on X day, and we tell the utilities what that is, and then they're going to put the credits on the bills and has them match up to the billing. So you got to make all that work.
Yeah, just wanted that repeats annually.
Yeah. So the short answer from my perspective is no. We cannot, and that's why in my presentation I highlighted it as the biggest issue with community solar, especially from my perspective. From a customer service issue, trying to explain these types of issues to somebody who just wants to sign up and save money, it's a hurdle for the industry, there's no doubt, and software can ease those, but right now it cannot completely solve that issue.
I mean, I guess it's a, you know, it's our job to prepare proposals that give, you know, the most accurate savings estimate possible. And then and that's why I mentioned, you know, we have to know, sponsors have to know that customers actually got credited and what the value was. Because I mean, if all you did was send the data to the utility and never got it back, you just cross your fingers and hope those credits hit the utility bills, you know, but you have to get that back and cross-check.
So the way it works now is you guys have to send the data in to the utility. I guess I'm
Yeah.
the ball on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, so our software provides for that, you know, actually three-way communication. But you're hitting on one of the biggest challenges, yeah. That's why you need solutions like this, yeah.
One more question?
What happens if you have like an older couple that don't have an email and the kids want to take, you know, control of the account? Like, I know the caveat is that it has to be the, whoever's electric bill it is, whoever's name it is, has to have the account. So how do you guys like face those challenges, or like, God forbid, not to be morbid, but like what if somebody passes? Like, how do you guys handle struggles like that?
We actually don't have that requirement, so anybody can sign up on behalf of somebody else. So it doesn't have to be the utility account holder. They do have to have an email because it's a completely online process. So you can't sign up offline.
That's the same for our company. The customer record can be completely different than the value than the name that appears on the utility bill.
Really?
Thank you.
I'm going to use my prerogative as facilitator and ask one more question that's burning on my mind right now. So it seems from my research that a lot of the programs in Massachusetts are structuring their contracts for subscribers around a percentage discount off the utility price. I suppose that's only one way of doing it, right? You could start out at a fixed price, perhaps it escalates at some rate over time. But also, we're thinking about questions around what's the ideal length of a contract term, you know, for a homeowner or a small business. Are we seeing any sort of consolidation of these kinds of issues across community solar programs? I know it varies probably depending on the state of the utility and all of that. But as folks are thinking about getting their projects going, how should we be thinking about the offering putting out there?
We have two offerings on our platform. They both had a lot of success. One was a 1-year prepay. We would prepay for their electricity for the year. And then the other one was a pay-as-you-go for a 20-year option. So we've kind of seen two ends of the spectrum. We haven't seen a lot of for like a 10-year or a 15-year, but it's really either been no time commitment or a lot of this in for 20 years.
Some of the projects that we've done also depend a little on the terms of the financing and how that might affect the term of a contract with a customer. But our preference is to push for no more than a year. That just gives the customer more flexibility. And when people start thinking about 20 years down the road, it's hard to imagine the future that far ahead. And so I think it does everyone a service when we can manage towards a shorter term that's more around a year.
So I have a strong opinion on this, so thanks for asking. So in Massachusetts, there's a reason why it's a percentage off the utility rate. Because in Massachusetts, it's a monetary crediting scheme. So it's actually impossible to do a fixed value per kilowatt hour. I can explain that to you later if you want to geek out. So I beg you, please do not structure your contracts like that in New York because of the issue I talked about earlier, right? This discrepancy in the actual billing cycle and what value, the value that the end use customer is actually seeing as a rate on their bill is very hard to model. So if you're promising a fixed percentage off that utility rate, you're gonna have a lot of headaches, right? So I beg you not to do that. In New York, from the people that we're speaking to in New York, I have seen a fixed value per kilowatt hour becoming the norm because of the volumetric hedging scheme. So that makes a lot of sense in New York. That's what I advocate for in New York. in terms of contract length, I think the norm is longer contract terms, 20-year contract terms, because of the investor aspect. Investors are more comfortable with that. But then you're also seeing, I would advocate for longer contract terms with a lower barrier of termination. Right? So some of these contracts have pretty harsh, to be honest, pretty harsh termination clauses. How you get out of the contract. Do you need to supply a replacement if you leave? Do you have to pay the net present value of what you would have been billed for the next 10 years? So I think these are harsh conditions, right? So I think what we should do is we should extend the term of the contract and make the exit fee a lower barrier. And that would convince customers to sign up, and it would still give the investors the assurance that these people are signing up for 20-year contracts.
So I think, we operate on a theory that for us and hopefully the whole community solar industry, our product offerings are going to benefit customers economically, not just everything else, but actually economically, unlike green pricing programs and other things that we've seen to date. Not just because we'll get a lot more adoption that way, but I mean, we're not going very far as an industry for very long if we don't. So that's important to us. So all our product offerings save customers money. Truthfully, if you model it, the upfront purchase is the best deal for the customer. They're going to get the best deal over the long run. Some of our systems are warranted for 50 years. They're going to be there a while, and that is the best deal for the customer. To the extent that my CEO was very reluctant to offer anything else, but people don't want to do that. Most people don't want to do that. Most people want to pay as you go. So that's why we ultimately began offering that. Currently our product is that sort of 20-year longer term agreement. But if folks do move, we will find somebody else to take it over so that they aren't stuck with fees and things like that. And I think you'll see more of that. I think that's, as Nick's saying, I think that part of community solar model is going to evolve quickly over the next few years.
I'm sorry, we have to move into the next session just to keep on time, but we're going to have the networking session at the end of the day. So.